who's joined by JetBlue Airways CEO Joanna Geraghty. Phil?
Thank you, John. Joanna, thank you for having us here at your headquarters.
Thank you.
He set it up. John set it up with this alliance between you and United. Why United, and how important is it for you to have this kind of partnership that allows you to perhaps better compete with the likes of a Delta at JFK?
Great. Well, thanks for having us today, Phil. We're very excited about what we call a collaboration. It's very unique. It's an opportunity for JetBlue to partner with United Airlines, another customer-centric airline, with a real focus on how do we broaden our network and offer more destinations to JetBlue customers, the ability to allow our TrueBlue members and their Mileage Plus members to earn and burn points on one another, and then to sell our flights via their website. We can't be more pleased, and we think it's going to give JetBlue the opportunity to compete better in the Northeast.
But you tried this with American. Now, this is not a code share agreement, but you tried this with American, and a judge ultimately said that's anti-competitive. Why will it be different this time with United?
Yeah, so we've been very thoughtful. The judge in the American Airlines case laid out a blueprint that would allow for a partnership to proceed. And so we've really tried to make sure that this particular collaboration falls within the outline of that blueprint. So it's an interline, not a code share. It's a frequent flyer program. We are not coordinating our schedules. We are not coordinating pricing. So we believe it's a very sort of up the middle of the field kind of partnership, but one that's going to bring tremendous value to both JetBlue's customers, but also United's customers.
Your stock slipped today, not because of this deal, because this has been widely anticipated for some time. But when I talk with analysts, one of the things they say is there's still questions about whether or not the turnaround will take hold. And a lot of that is redoing your route structure. Are you starting to see those changes pay off?
Yeah, we're really excited about our Jet Forward plan. We're starting to see some nice progress. First, in the area of operational reliability, we've really done a nice job there improving our operations. Our customer scores are really rising in a pretty meaningful way. And then when you look at our network, about 20% of our network is in transition, and it takes a little time for that to actually ramp up and mature. But we're seeing some nice progress there, particularly as we look at some of the additional airports we've added out of the Northeast.
I have to ask you, in regards to demand, before we went on, we were talking about what you're seeing with Newark. Are you seeing a benefit from people who are saying, I'm just not going into Newark right now? Yeah,
I think what we're seeing in the industry is some of the airports that surround Newark, whether it's LaGuardia, JFK, or Philadelphia, are most certainly seeing a benefit from some of the air traffic control challenges, but it's ultimately transitory. And as the runway construction ends in Newark, we would expect that will kind of resume to a more normal demand profile.
The geared turbofan engine issue, it continues to be. It haunts you guys to a certain extent. You've got a number of aircraft on the ground because you can't use them without the engines. Are you confident that you can get back to a position here where you can get more of those into service in the second half of this year?
We continue to think the geared turbofan is the engine of the future. We've most certainly seen some near-term headwinds, which have been challenging as Pratt & Whitney ramps up its supply chain and ramps up its maintenance facilities. We're starting to see some progress, but it's early innings, and we're focused on continuing to see that progress as we move through the year and into 2026.
Part of this agreement is the opportunity that United customers will go to Paisley by JetBlue and say, look, I also want to book, whether it's a car or a hotel, et cetera. How much will that potentially add to the revenue mix as you go into the next couple of years?
Yeah, part of the deal is to actually provide the ancillary platform for United. So JetBlue does a great job selling vacations, selling cars, hotel rentals, and insurance.
And you have a wider audience.
And we have a wider audience, and we do it in a very bespoke, thoughtful way, kind of right customer, right place, right time. And we're going to power United's ancillary platform. And that's a nice part of the deal because we think we can frankly do it better and do it with better customer service. And when I look at this partnership, it's really about two great customer-minded brands coming together and delivering more for the consumers in the Northeast, more for the consumers worldwide, and really making our loyalty programs that much more relevant and that much more powerful.
Quickly, I have to ask you about the consumer. How do you feel about what you're seeing with bookings?
I'd say back at our earnings call, we talked about how we were adjusting capacity to reflect the demand environment. Obviously, the continued volatility around tariffs has, a bit of a challenge in the consumer profile because they want to see stability. But as we move into the summer, we're looking at hopefully customers getting a bit more confident in booking that second vacation, not just the first. And as we move through the year, we're confident Jet Forward's working, and we're moving back on a path to getting JetBlue back on a path to profitability.
You don't have a huge international route structure, but are you noticing any impact in terms of either people hesitant to go overseas or those overseas hesitant to come here?
Yeah, the international flying's been holding up pretty well, so we're pleased with that. But obviously, all of the uncertainty and the volatility plays into how people think about where they're going to spend their next dollar. So the more certainty we can have around that, the stronger the consumer will ultimately be.